Hey guys, welcome to J&Bae TV.
What's going on?
Man, that sounds loud. So the only reason we're worried about that is because we are making this video on a Sunday instead of on Saturday. And so the little is taking his nap, and thank God.
That way.
Yes. So if it sounds like we're whispering,
That's because we are.
and we don't want to wake up the devil.
Dum dum dum.
Okay, I feel like I have to say a disclaimer and say
All
I
right.
don't really think he's a devil. But if you have toddlers, you know the level of a-holery
Yeah.
that
He's 3.
yeah.
Just imagine.
So we just had a rough morning. But you know what's gonna make it better?
What's that, baby?
I have a joke.
What? Joke time.
You're so extra.
I'm excited.
Okay. How do you make holy water?
How?
You boil the hell out of it.
Oh my God! You boiled the hell.
Yeah,
I like
okay.
it.
I have another joke, but it was not as funny as that one, but I feel like I need to tell it anyway.
What's that?
So hold on, let me get set up for it. I'm not ready.
Don't fix your face. Go.
I can't. It's stuck like this. Okay. In the news this week, a young man was fired from Pepsi.
Why?
He tested positive for Coke.
So where do you get these
So
from?
that joke is actually courtesy of my friend Jared Easley, who is host of the Starve the Doubts podcast. So if you don't follow Jared, you should, because he's amazing. And if you don't listen to Starve the Doubts, you should too, because it's really good. Probably one of the very first podcasts I listened to. But he and I are friends on Facebook, and he posts a lot of dad jokes on his wall. So even if you're not friends with him, you should follow him. He's hilarious. I feel like I'm talking like with my head turned to the side like this. Okay, I'm done. This hair keeps getting in my eye. All right, focus, focus, focus. Okay, I also, what is that?
I'm like blowing your hair.
I'm smiling too much because the back of my head's hurting. Okay, focus. So I have a funny
When
meme.
you smile, the back of your head hurts a bit.
You don't smile that hard.
That's unfortunate.
It's just how it happens when you're a happy person.
This is true.
Whatever. Okay. So this meme that I found, and we posted this on our Instagram. So if you don't follow us on Instagram, it's just at J&Bae TV on Instagram. We post funny memes and cuteness and lovey-dovey stuff. So if you don't like lovey-dovey, maybe don't follow us. But this meme leads into our topic today, and it says, ways to tell a woman's mad at you. Number 1, she's silent. Number 2, she's yelling. Number 3, she acts the same. Number 4, she acts different. Number 5, she murdered you. So, as I was reading that, I was like, man, that is so accurate. Okay, so that just leads into our topic today of how your spouse is not a mind reader.
That's right.
Yes, you're not a mind reader, are you, babe?
No.
Although
most men aren't.
Most women aren't, because sometimes I have to like pull stuff out of you too.
Yeah.
It would be amazing if men were well, maybe not. I'm gonna drink coffee on that.
Maybe I need to get some tea.
No. What? Okay. So I'm reading the book. If you're in my office, it's already too late. So it's a book written by a divorce attorney who's probably been a divorce attorney for like 20 years or something.
Yeah, something.
And so he's talking about a story in the book where it's one of his clients, the way that she told her husband she wanted a divorce. So they're in the kitchen, he's making breakfast, and she comes in and he's like, honey, what do you want for breakfast? And she's like, I want a divorce. First of all, that's cold. Like, let the man eat his breakfast before you like drop that bomb.
I don't think he can find that in the refrigerator. Or in any of the cabinets.
Well, I mean, wouldn't you rather get that kind of bad news on a full stomach?
I don't know.
No? You will never get that kind of news, so it's okay.
I'm happy about that,
ladies
and gentlemen.
You don't look happy.
Well, I'm trying to determine if I want it on a full stomach or an empty stomach.
I feel like I would want that kind of news on an empty stomach because I might throw up.
Yeah, that's mean.
But that's getting off topic. Okay, but anywho, like, she was telling her attorney, like, how unhappy she was.
Yeah.
And he said, well, did you ever tell your husband you were unhappy? And she said, well, no, he should have just known. Like, could he not just tell? And that, what are you doing?
Continue.
Okay. And then that, like, led us to have a conversation about, you know, should you just know? And I know sometimes I feel like if something's wrong with me, he should just know. Like, you should just know that I'm mad because, you know, what kind of stuff do I get mad at you about?
I didn't pick up the ice cream the other day.
So you should just know that I'm mad that you forgot the ice cream for the kid's birthday party, so we just had cake, we didn't have ice cream. I'm not bitter. But, like, okay, so that just leads us to say your spouse is not a mind reader. And I think sometimes, like, you know, if he and I are arguing, or we're not arguing yet, but he can clearly tell something is wrong with me. So he'll come up and he'll say, hey, what's wrong with you? And I go, nothing, I'm fine, like, with that exact face. And he's like, all right, cool, she's fine. But am I...
Well, the thing is, clearly I can tell, which most men can, that there is something wrong with you and you're not fine. That's why we're asking.
But why do y'all give up so easily? I feel like if you come up to me and you say, hey, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, nothing, I'm fine. Like, why, like, something's wrong with me. Obviously, I'm not fine.
Well, the thing is, if we think, obviously, she just wants to be left alone. And if she wants to talk about it, she'll talk about it. Because that's how men operate.
Okay.
If we want to talk about something, like, if I have something against a guy or whatever, I'll go to the guy and talk to him about it. Like, that's what we do.
I mean, I don't know. It just, like, as we were talking about it, it really made me kind of sad. Not for us, but I feel like that thing plays out over and over again in relationships, is that most men are like, my wife wanted a divorce and it completely blindsided me. I didn't know she was unhappy. And, like, I wish I could tell you, like, how many times I've heard that before. Yeah. Like, when I used to work at the lift, man, this hair is really getting in my eye. When I used to work at the lift, this man that I was signing up to be a new member was like, you know, yeah, my wife left me and I just didn't even know she was unhappy. Like, I came home one day and she was gone. And part of me is like, what level of, like, not paying attention do you have to be for it to get to that point where your spouse just picks up and leaves without saying anything? Like, do you really not know? Are you, like, because my brain goes, like, nobody's that oblivious. Like, are you just not paying attention?
Well, I mean, there's men that are, though. You know, a lot of men aren't in touch with even how they feel, let alone how anybody else feels.
Yeah, I don't know. It just makes me sad. But because it makes me sad, we're going to make some suggestions about, or a suggestion about a thing that we try to do in our relationship. Because I think sometimes if something's wrong with Jacob and I don't know, and then he blows up on me, or not blows up, because he doesn't really even do that. But we kind of get into it about, like, how the toothpaste was closed, and obviously, like, that's not what we're fighting about because that's a small, dumb thing. Yeah. But we do regular temperature checks. So I will, if I know there's a specific thing that he's going through, I will say, hey, you know, just want to check on you. How you doing with X, Y, and Z? Yeah,
exactly. And you do a great job.
Yeah. So I would suggest that you guys do, within your own relationship, a regular temperature check. Because he will ask me, hey, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, nothing, I'm fine. Like, you know, which is not very, like, open for him to keep going. But even with him, most of the time, I can't tell that there's anything wrong with him. He's so, like, steady.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, too, is, you know, it's important to ask your spouse or someone you're in a relationship with, is there anything that you need today? Is there anything that you see that I can do better in this relationship? Yeah. You know, that line of communication is extremely important.
Yeah,
and those questions sometimes are really, really hard for people.
What do you mean, for them to ask or for them to answer?
For them to answer. Not really ask, but for them to answer, because you don't want to hurt the person you're in a relationship's feelings. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, you're not happy. Yeah. And in 6 months, you're going to leave anyway, which is going to hurt them more. You might as well have the conversation so that they can make a change.
Yeah, I'm a huge advocate for radical honesty within your relationship. Now, not to the point of being hateful, but, like, don't let things fester. Talk about feelings like, you know, maybe not in the moment when you're both mad, but at least within the next few hours. Because I know, you know, people think that like, oh, you guys have such a perfect relationship, but that's just because y'all don't see like what we do have a pretty perfect relationship. Yeah. But like all couples fight, all couples, you know, get mad at each other or get annoyed with each other. We're just like everybody else. But because we are both divorced and we do not want to have a second failed relationship, we are working our butts off this time around to really just make sure that we communicate and we say if something was hurtful. I know, and if you guys know me, you will nod your head and say yes, that I can be very like abrupt sometimes, and I just like say stuff because I like for people to be straightforward with me. But some things need to be said tactfully. So you're really good at saying, hey, you know, you said that to me a real funky kind of way. Like, I need for you to not. And you're usually like, don't be talking to me like that.
Right in the neck.
I promise if you poke me in the neck this video.
Dum dum dum.
Dum dum dum. So, so try regular temperature checks within your relationship. Asking your spouse, you know, hey, how you feeling today? You know, or how you feeling about X, Y, and Z. And then also, what was our second thing? I forgot. Oh, radical.
Radical honesty.
So you don't have to be perfect to do this. You can be like me and like lose your train of thought. But radical honesty, and don't be mean, but like talk about things.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, you're both adults. You know, I know that a lot of times adults are childlike in a lot of ways.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, you can literally sit down and talk about it. Mm-hmm. You know, I think what helps our relationship so much is that we're very intentional.
Yes, intentional is the word.
You know, we are very intentional. Like, we have our date nights. We do regular temperature checks. We check, you know, up on each other.
Yeah. We probably check on each other too much sometimes, because like he'll be like, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. Like, why do you keep asking me that? Or I'll do the same thing to him. I'm like, are you fine? Are you okay? What's wrong? You good? You good?
But this is the thing. I'd rather be in a relationship where you're checking on your spouse or whatever too much.
Yeah.
Than not enough or not at all.
Yeah.
Because this is it for me.
Yeah.
You're the rest of my life.
Oh, thanks, babe.
So.
Stop it. We're going to have to turn this camera off. But I also, this book that I'm reading, this is a really, really good book, too. It's called If You're in My Office, It's Already Too Late. So it just kind of talks about, too, that, like, a lot of times people think that divorce happens because of some, like, big thing that has happened. But I think, like, it's the small things. So, for example, like, he was saying in the book that this woman knew that her marriage was over when her husband stopped buying her granola. It's a really like small thing, but he would always know she loved that kind of granola. If she ran out, she never had to go out and get it. He would just notice that it was out and he would go get her some. So one day she came home, there was no granola, and she was like, maybe he just forgot. And so it went like a couple of weeks where she didn't buy any. And then she said that she ended up having to buy her own, and he just never like bought it for her again. And she knew that they were on like a downward slope, which seems like a small thing, but for her, that was a thoughtful thing from him to do that for her. And you do lots of like small thoughtful things for me, and I do small thoughtful things for you. So I think the way that you can tell if you really need to start paying attention is if you guys stop doing the small thoughtful things for each other. Yeah. Because like Jacob, you may not want me to say that you do this. But I'm like running around in a hurry most mornings, so Jacob will be like, hey, what are you wearing? I'll steam your clothes for you, you know? And I will usually make him breakfast and pack him food, you know? And so if I stop doing those things for him and you stop doing that for me, I'm going to be like, you know, are we okay? Are you sad that I told people you do that?
No, I'm not, because at the end of the day, I know who I am.
You know who I am?
Look. I will steam the clothes, I will do the laundry, I will do the dishes, I will sweep them off the floor, I will drop the kids off at school, I will fix breakfast, I will do all of these things.
I love you so much.
That's a real man.
Real men do that. Well, first of all, if you want to get laid, do those things for your wife. Like, I'm sorry. I know, like,
it's true.
But seriously, like, these men are like, my wife wants sex with me. Like, I promise you, if you will clean something, she's like, you
Pick up your dirty socks off the floor.
Vacuum the floor, do the dishes. Like, I mean, I just think that's foreplay in marriage, but that's just...
you know. And it's not just the woman's responsibility either.
No, it's a shared responsibility.
If you leave your clothes everywhere, or you wear your clothes and your clothes is in the laundry, needed to be washed, wash your clothes. Anyway, I'm sorry. Shared
partnership. All right, we're getting like all off the topic, but moral of the story: your spouse is not a mind reader. Do regular temperature checks. Try to do small, nice stuff for each other. And no, that won't completely save your marriage, but marriage is lots of small things that need to be done over time. So,
one more thing. I know we're running late, but I do have one more thing.
Go ahead, babe.
All right, and it's not, well, I do the dishes, I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this, and you only do this, 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 and this. It's not a competition.
No scorekeeping.
Okay, don't keep score.
No scorekeeping.
I mean, you need to love your spouse for who they are. You married them, so.
I like you.
It's covenant.
Covenant. That's what we talked about in church
Relationship.
Relationship. Okay. We love you guys. We will see you next week. If you don't follow us on Instagram, we would love for you to follow us on Instagram. That's where we post a lot of stuff throughout the week. So if you want to stay in touch with us and see our Instagram stories, just follow us on Instagram at J&Bae TV. We hope... What? You're
Get in the
messing me up. We hope that you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, America.
Bye.